Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my first ever EVE Online video. Now, this was brought about by something that I'll talk about in another video. This was originally planned to be the second video, but because the first video that I done was talking about how I left my last corporation, why I left my last corporation, and how I became basically like somewhat of a solo nomad character in my everyday life, and listening back to the video, it really just sounded like I was trying to dissuade new players from corporations altogether, which is definitely not the case. But I will at some stage redo that video. I'll probably redo it at some stage, today, so it'll go up pretty soon, hopefully. But this video needs to be quick because, as you can see, we are in the ice belts. But the reason why it needs to be quick is if you look down the bottom left hand corner of the screen, you will see that it is 10:36 AM and the servers are going to shut off in precisely 24 minutes. So in 23 minutes I need to be docked up in the station safe and sound with both ships. As you can see on the screen, also I am in a retriever, but this is my second account. So the retriever is sitting mining away while the orca right beside it is boosting it and is also picking up. As you can see, I do have the fleet hangar open, so I can just drag and drop it in, just making it so that I don't need to leave the ice belt until it's done. That's basically what it's for. But with that being said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through my setup, my solo setup, and how I go about my everyday life with my setup. And with this setup, if you were to have something along these lines, you can definitely plex your account using this setup. Side note, I don't plex my account. I pay for it with real money, and for right now, I'm okay with that. Maybe somewhere down the line, I will end up, plexing my account. But with that being said, what I'm going to do is we're going to talk about the setup that I use. We're going to talk about the ships that I have, what ships I use and what they're for. And also, while I'm talking about these ships, you will see that the video will have the fitting on the right hand side of the screen, so that you can see not only the ship but what actually is in it, so that you have a better understanding. So we're going to start with the Marasmus, okay? The Marasmus is my main Hulk, and basically the Marasmus is strictly for ice belts only. When I'm not in my Orca on my main account, boosting my second account, I'm in the Marasmus mining ice, and it is strictly for ice only and nothing else. The Scopuli is the exact same as the Marasmus. They're both Hulks, but the Scopuli is for asteroid and nothing else. So whether that's just a random asteroid belt in system, or that is an ore site in Wormhole, which the last time didn't work out too well, cost me 300 million, but that is fine. But it's there if I really want to use it. The Behemoth is the Orca, which you've seen at the start of the video. It is used for ice compression for ice, gas and ore. What I am thinking about doing is taking off the gas compression, because no one compresses gas, and maybe putting on a range boost. It also can be used for drone mining. I'm currently using it to mine ice right now with one of my ice drones, but also at the same time there is ore miners in there, so that if I want to go to an asteroid belt, I can do that. The Palladium is a buzzard, and it is used for data and relic sites, as well as scanning down wormholes and then subsequently gas sites within that wormhole. Just before starting this video, I did get quite lucky. I found a wormhole with a relic site that had no rats at it. Managed to get all of the cans opened and warped away with 31 million, which is a good start to the day. It means good things are coming today, which is fantastic. But yeah, it's for scanning wormholes, gas sites mainly, and only very rarely used for data relic sites. But gas sites is where it's mainly used, and that brings us on to the Nauvoo, which is the prospect, and it is for gas mining in wormholes and nothing else. If there was gas sites readily available in high sec, I would definitely do it there as well. But because the easiest and quickest way for me to get to a gas site is through wormholes, then that's what I'm going to do. I tend to stick around wormholes near my home system so that I can scan it down with the buzzard and then come back to home system, get my prospect and go back out and mine that way. I have my favourite chip, which is called Big Rig, and it's a Charon or Charon, whatever one, and it is a Caldari freighter, and it is used for no reason other than transporting stuff at the end of the month. And it is, I love it. It's fucking huge. It is great. It is my favourite chip, without a shadow of a doubt. I do have a Gila, but it is currently stationed in Jeddah and does not see any use whatsoever. What I do have is a rattlesnake, and it's called Stone Cold, and that is the greatest name for it. And it is used for rat sites, and then whenever the Navu is doing some gas mining, once it triggers the rats to come after 20 minutes of being there, I warp away, I go back to home station, I get my rattlesnake. If it can fit through the wormhole, it comes out. I bring the rattlesnake into the gas site, kill off the rats, go back to home station, get my prospect again, and then I'm theoretically, unless another player shows up, I'm good to mine out the rest of that gas cloud. It works, and it gets me a lot of ISK at the end of the month, and I mean a lot of ISK. I also have a Wrecker, a ship called Wrecker, and it is just a Noctis, and it's only used for salvaging rat sites, and I only use it for salvaging rat sites in the home system. I'm not going to travel 3 systems away, do a rat site, come back and get the Noctis to go the whole way out there for that. At that stage, it's just not worth the ISK. It's not. So if I'm doing rat sites in the home system, by all means, I'll bookmark them. I'll do a few rat sites, I'll go back, I'll get the Noctis, and I'll come out and get everything. It's for the sake of 5 minutes, it's sometimes a couple of extra million ISK, and if you're doing that every single time you're doing rat sites in the home system, it's going to add up. So anything to make a wee bit extra money. So my priority list when logging in every single day is ice belts, gas sites, then it used to be asteroid belts, but that's not the case no more. So then it'll probably be rat sites, down on relic sites, and then asteroid belts. Ice belts is my main one. It is my main concern. I'll come out, if I'm doing it by myself, no 2 accounts, I'll come out in the Marasmus and I will mine some ice until either I have to go do something in real life, or the ice belt is gone. If the ice belt is gone and there is a wormhole in system or in a neighbouring system, I will go scan that down, see if there's a gas site in it. If there is, scan down the gas site, go get the prospect. So ice belts and gas sites are my 2 main priorities, just because they can make you a lot of ISK. The gas sites are obviously a lot more dangerous, but that's the case. So what I will do is I will show you some of my earnings from December of 2022, because obviously this being recorded on the last day of January, I still haven't done that yet. So it will be at some stage, might do a January one. It will be a bit skewed, and I'll talk about why. So just before I show you the numbers, there's just some things that I want to go over. Okay, so up until the middle of December, I was using 2 accounts for ice mining, and I purposely let the second account, so the one that I'm on now, I purposely let it run out of Omega so that I could mine ice with it, just so I could really get a judge of can I do ice mining and make a good amount of ISK in the least possible time and still be maybe able to plex my account. Is it possible? And the answer is yes, it is. Obviously it takes a wee bit longer, there's a lot more travelling back and forward to stations and stuff, but yeah, no, it's doable. It is doable. What I found is the most time that is it's consuming is the compression part, so I would come out in the marasmus and then I would go back to station. Once I've got 2 cans and an ore hole full of ice, I would go back to station, and once I get back to station, I get the orca, I come out and pick up the cans. If I choose not to compress then and there, I bring it all back, drop it off, get the marasmus back again, and back out, and I do that until the ice belt is gone. If I do that, there's a lot of times, a lot of days where I'm having to compress 500 blocks of ice, and that's a lot of trips in and out of the station. So at the end of it, it does take quite a bit of time, but it is still doable. Like I said, so you've seen my setup, right? Obviously with the Orca is, at the time that I bought it, it cost me, for the full fit, was 2.2 billion. Okay, the Charon, or the Charon, whatever I'm just going to call it Charon. The Charon, it cost me 3.1, I believe, whenever I purchased it. And those two are the two main expensive ships, right? The rest of them aren't, and I have no real need for ISK, because as you've seen, I've got my setup, and really the only 2 ships within my setup that are in any form of danger is the Buzzard and the Prospect. And the only reason why they're in danger is because they are in wormholes a lot, and it's easy for me to get jumped. They're cloaked up whenever I'm able to cloak up, but that's that. They're the 2 main ships that are in any form of danger, and they cost 40 million each to fit. Okay, I'm in no real need for ISK, okay, because right now on my main account I am sitting on 5.3 billion, and if the 2 ships that are in any form of danger that will need to be replaced at any given time are only 40 million each, that's fine. Okay, I have no real need for ISK, so I'm not in any rush to get ISK, so just keep that in mind. Again, midway through December till the end of December, not only was it back to using one account, but the Winter Nexus event was live, meaning a lot of people were out doing the data sites, the combat sites, and the volatile ice fields, which subsequently left the ice belts, like the white glaze belts, relatively quiet throughout that entire time, which meant it took us longer to mine out the ice fields, but whoever was there was getting more. So I was getting more ice than I normally would have. Also, the wormholes were a lot quieter as well. Basically the only ships that I seen in wormholes were transport ships, and that was meaning people were coming from nullsec or lowsec, and they were using it just to get the Jita, because I'm quite close to Jita. So the wormholes that I would go into to mine gas and stuff would be quite busy, because we are so close to Jita. So that means that meant that at that given time during the Winter Nexus event, I generally did not need to worry about being jumped in wormholes. It didn't happen in the entire time that the Winter Nexus event was live, so there's that. And again, I don't really need ISK, so I'm going to pop it up on the screen, how much I made, and you're probably going to be drawn to the fact that the wee yellow box in the bottom right hand corner says 1.1 billion, just over 1.1 billion, and you can think that's not an awful lot of money, and you would be correct. It is not, but there's a lot of things to take into account. Any of my free time in December was pretty much used for getting ready for Christmas, so I wasn't on as much as I am now, which means I wasn't making as much back then as I am now. Also, there is a lot that goes into it. So as you can see, I done 4,000 blocks of compressed white glaze. That got me that amount of money after tax, and you can go down and you can see the gas and how much I got after tax. Take into consideration that all of this I did not have accounting skilled up stupidly on my part. So there's that, right? So obviously I was getting taxed more than I should have, but most importantly, I left behind a lot of stuff. I did not sell a lot of stuff because I was using it for reprocessing. I reprocessed a lot of ice for the reprocessing materials which weren't sold, but also at the same time for fuel for my compressor, or technically my industrial core, for my Orca. Because basically my whole setup that I was going around with this setup is I don't rely on anyone. I will need to go to Jita to buy things, yeah, that's a given, but for the most part I rely solely on myself. I don't rely on another corporation. I don't rely on people helping me. In fact, it's the opposite way about. I help the people now because I would get people into my fleet, I will boost them, I will give them advice, and stuff like that. My setup is I don't rely on anyone, and that is the way that I want it. So realistically, if I take into consideration the amount of money that I would have made if I had sold the reprocessed materials, it was coming up on just short of 2 billion. Now again, I wasn't pushing to plex my account, so that there's times where whenever I mined down an ice belt, I logged off for the day. Whereas if you mine out an ice belt and then you were to hop into your rattlesnake and you would go do rat sites, you could get an escalation, and then that escalation could drop loot worth 50, 100, 150 million isk, which then just keeps putting it up and up and up. Now take into consideration that none of this was doing bounty prizes or project discovery. That was not added in. So if you add those on top as well, there's quite a lot of money to be made. You can easily plex your account this way. It takes about 2.2 billion to plex your account. Okay, so if I was doing 2 billion, give or take, without putting an awful lot of pressure on myself to make the 2 billion, it is definitely doable. 150% definitely doable. If you're just looking to make as much money as you possibly can, this is a way that you can do it. Obviously I have my hand in everything. Well, not everything. I don't do PvP, I don't do factional warfare and stuff like that, but if you limit yourself to one thing, like I used to limit myself to mining and mining only, it gets very boring. Whereas this way, you can do the mining, and you can also do ratting, and you can also do data and relic sites. That way. I've recently started in the planetary industry, or PI, and it's actually, I have to go pick some stuff up now, but yeah, this is my setup. This is my solo setup, and I rely pretty much on no one. I've started looking into blueprints and making blueprints for the stuff that I do need, so that I have all the materials to run blueprints for the stuff that I might need, so that I definitely don't have to go to Jita as often, other than the once a month to sell. That is that. Hopefully I can get something done for January, or even take you along for the whole thing for January, so that not only you can see how much I will be making, you can also see how I do it. So at some stage today I'll probably record that video, because today is the last day of January. But that is going to do it for me. I definitely need to warp back to base, home station right now. So let me see, I just need to go into second account. And how much did we get? But we're only out here for a wee bit, and we got 40,000, or actually 49 blocks of ice. So what I will do, they've shut off. Right, okay. No, I'm not. Actually, what I will show you is this. So I will turn this off. Oh my god, did I turn the compressor on? I did. Right, okay, this is going to be close. So we're going to compress this. Compress. We're going to turn those two off. What we're going to do is we're going to turn this off as well, and we are going to bring our drone back. And if I come over here, as you can see, my retriever instead of just what I do, just to make it easier, I just store the vessel and it goes into my Orca. And then what I can do is I get this account, it warps back to site. I am being attacked by rats, that is fine. So what we're going to do here is we're just going to unlock these targets, and then whenever this cools down in 1 minute 30 seconds, we'll warp back to station. It will kick us off for the reset, and we'll be back on in 15 minutes, and then we'll be back out at the ice fields. But that is going to do it for me. That's my solo setup. Hopefully it gives you kind of like an insight on how I like to do things, and maybe hopefully would give you, you know, an insight or something that you can maybe work towards, or something like that. I don't know. If you have any questions, you can leave it in the comments below. But my name has been Expedishun. Thanks for watching, and until next time, stay safe.